Representative Dave Min, a former SEC prosecutor and law professor, took the microphone and did what very few in that chamber seem willing to do anymore. He told the truth. With Minnesota Governor Tim Walz sitting as a witness, Min laid bare what this hearing was really about. Not protecting taxpayer dollars, but protecting one man's ego. What followed was 5 minutes of blistering, constitutionally grounded fury that every American deserves to hear.
Now, Chair recognizes Mr. Min from California.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for convening this hearing. Let's start at the outset by just stating the obvious. Waste, fraud, and abuse are horrible. They're stealing from taxpayers. They're taking money and food out of the mouths of hungry kids. I have spent my career fighting against fraud. I started my career at the SEC, prosecuting corporate fraud, continued on as a law professor, teaching the next generation. And as someone on the Oversight Committee, this is a very, very important issue to me. Again, every dollar that is stolen from these programs is a dollar that's not just taken from us hardworking taxpayers. It is something that is meant for a better use. And so I appreciate the gist of this hearing, but as I pointed out in prior hearings on allegations of fraud in Minnesota, the singular and exclusive focus on the Somalian community in Minnesota seems very partisan and wrong, because we know there's massive fraud across this country, particularly in southern states, including states like Florida and Mississippi. Mississippi is still at trial right now over $77 million in welfare fraud. Federal prosecutors have recently arrested a Russian national accused of submitting billions of dollars in fraudulent schemes in Texas and Florida. And of course, Oklahoma and Alabama consistently rank as the highest states when it comes to SNAP fraud. And yet we've only focused on Minnesota. Why? As a freshman member, I've been here 14 months, but I've learned that their House Republicans are all single-issue voters with just a handful of exceptions. And that single issue, the only thing that you all care about, is whether you're on Team Trump or not. And so when Donald Trump goes after Minnesota and falsely claims that he won the election there 3 times and that it was rigged against him, I pay close attention. When he says that he would no longer admit Somalians to this country because they contribute, quote, nothing to this country, I listen. That's a wildly racist statement, but it's going to reflect what Republicans are going to do, and that is why we're holding this hearing. I care about welfare fraud, and I care about the scumbags who rip off taxpayer money. But if this was about welfare fraud, we'd be also hauling in people like Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves and former NFL quarterback Brett Favre, who clearly knew about a scheme to send money to build a volleyball facility at the college his daughter was playing at, receive funds for $600,000 or more for work that he never did from the government, again, taking money from the mouths of children that are hungry. No, this hearing is not about welfare fraud. It's about placating Donald Trump. This committee is holding this hearing for the same reasons that it's ignoring the massive corruption we know that Donald Trump is engaged in his family, soliciting bribes from foreign governments and private companies in exchange for regulatory favor, for the same reason that Republicans are protecting pedophiles right now and that the DOJ is right now actively deleting Epstein files while we're at war with Iran. It's why they ignore their oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. It's why we're holding hearings on this rather than on ICE abuses or the fact that Donald Trump just took us into war without even consulting with Congress, let alone getting our authorization for military use or force or actual declaration of war in direct contravention of the Constitution of the United States. But for those of us who care about taxpayer dollars, let's focus on that. This is horrible, but of course we have seen instead a different type of abuse of our taxpayer dollars. They've taken our taxpayer dollars and used them to fund abuses against our American people, as a number of our witnesses have aptly described. And I want to just point out that until the murder of Alex Preddy, not a single DHS or ICE agent accused of wrongdoing, witnessed or videotaped assaulting Americans was suspended, faced any disciplinary action. That doesn't happen with police. When my local law enforcement are accused of misconduct, certainly if they're videotaped shooting someone, they are subject to an investigation. Maybe they're justified or not, but they're suspended, removed from duty, investigated. None of that has happened until the murder of Alex Preddy and the outrage around that. Now, Governor Walz, I want to just briefly ask you, what's the economic impact that the deployment of ICE in Minnesota has had over the past few months?
Well, thank you, Congressman. I thank you for your characterization. I associate myself with you on fraud is horrific. It is corrosive. It hurts those people that are there, and taxpayers should demand accountability. And I think that's what we're trying to take. The issue can, again...
What's the economic impact? I know business...
Look, for us, we just had our economic numbers, and I would tell people that we have to balance the budget every year. Minnesota is strongly, we're AAA bond rated. that shows up good. It doesn't account for what happened over the last 3 months. And by estimates, the city of Minneapolis estimates they lost $200 million alone. And I remind people, you saw pictures of Minneapolis. This happened across the state. Near my hometown of Mankato, Minnesota, in St. Peter, we saw a woman that was pulled over at gunpoint, a citizen. The chilling effect it had, businesses going under, especially immigrant-owned businesses, people who are here legally, citizens, starting businesses, were shut down.
I'm just going to reclaim my time to make one final point here. I was at Minneapolis, had the chance to meet with you and others. I also met with a number of local police chiefs, and one of the things they told me, first, this is not the first time ICE has operated in Minnesota. But in the past, what is different about this time is that they did not coordinate. They did not tell anyone. And that resulted in a lot of 911 calls, because when you see masked men jumping out of vans, pulling people out, assaulting them, punching them in the head, as happens all the time with ICE agents. And by the way, that's not a matter of training. It's a matter of picking people who are predisposed to violence. That costs our local police quite a lot of money. It's one of the reasons I'm going to be introducing the Recoup Act so that local jurisdictions are repaid for the funds that they expend due to ICE misconduct. With that, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Before I recognize Ms. Boebert.
5 minutes on the congressional clock, and Representative Dave Min used every second of it to dismantle the very premise of this hearing. Designed not to root out fraud, but to target one specific community in one specific state that one specific man has a personal grievance with. And Dave Min, a former SEC prosecutor who has actually spent his career going after fraudsters, was not about to sit there and let that go unchallenged. Min raised a point that no one on the other side of the aisle wanted to touch. If this committee is genuinely concerned about welfare fraud, why has it held 0 hearings on the $7 million Mississippi scandal, a case that is actively being tried in federal court as we speak? Why no subpoenas for Governor Tate Reeves? Why no questions for Brett Favre, a man who took over $600,000 taxpayer dollars for speeches he never gave, while children in the poorest state in the nation went hungry? The answer, as Min laid out with prosecutorial precision, is that Mississippi doesn't serve the narrative. Minnesota does. And then Min went further. He connected the dots that too many in Washington are either unwilling or afraid to connect. He pointed to the DOJ, the very institution that is supposed to be the guardian of equal justice under law, and alleged that it is actively purging Epstein-related files. While American service members are being deployed into a military confrontation with Iran that Congress never authorized, the Department of Justice is, according to a sitting member of the Oversight Committee, destroying evidence related to one of the most significant child trafficking cases in modern American history, and the majority party has nothing to say about it. Governor Walz's testimony added another critical dimension. Minneapolis alone, one city lost an estimated $200 million because of ICE operations that were conducted without coordination, without notice, and without regard for the constitutional rights of American citizens. A woman in St. Peter, Minnesota, was pulled over at gunpoint. Businesses owned by legal immigrants and naturalized citizens shuttered. Min pointed out that until the killing of Alex Prey, not a single ICE agent, not one, faced any disciplinary action for documented misconduct. Officers caught on camera assaulting people, no suspension, no investigation, no accountability. In any local police department in this country, that would be unthinkable. But under this administration, it was policy. The framers of the Constitution built a system designed to prevent exactly what is happening right now, a legislative branch that serves not as a check on executive power, but as its instrument. Article 1 is not a suggestion. The War Powers Clause is not decorative. And the Oversight Committee exists to oversee all fraud, all abuse, and all corruption, not just the kind that's politically convenient. Representative Min yielded back his time today, but the questions he raised are not going away.